Hello, my name is Alana. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I was going to say welcome to my Instagram. No, welcome to my YouTube channel where I like to review books. And today, as you can tell by the title, this week rather, we've got Troy by Stephen Fry, which is the third installment of the Mythos trilogy. There will be a fourth installment. It's not getting released until 2024, but he's going to cover the Odyssey. My favorite mythology of all time. My favorite mythological stories are Odysseus and his shenanigans, so I'm here for it. I believe when I post this video or when it goes live, it will be Christmas Day. So Merry Christmas. So don't worry, I have recorded this like 3 weeks in advance and I scheduled them in advance. So there you go. So if you're watching this on Christmas Day, I appreciate you taking the time out of your holiday, if you celebrate, to watch my video. Some people like to watch videos on YouTube as a way to put their headphones in and ignore their family members. Let's hop into Troy. So we will not be discussing Stephen Fry, no more Stephen Fry reviews until his playing around with the Odyssey comes out. I'm really excited about that, but we have some time to go. So, as you could probably tell by the cover, the title of this one, Troy will be Stephen Fry. His third installment, what am I doing? His third installment is covering the Trojan War. And it is a very engaging and detailed overview of the key players of the Trojan War, the events that led up to the war itself, its significance, and why the Trojan War, the characters here, and why the Trojan War, what am I trying to say? Why the Trojan War is still relevant and pretty much it's iconic. Even if you've never read the Iliad, or who doesn't know the name Achilles, Odysseus, Agamemnon, Menelaus, Paris, Helen, all of them, Cassandra, my poor girl Cassandra got the shortest end of the stick, but that's okay. So yes. Let's hop into this. This is what happens when I record videos back to back to back. My throat starts to go and my brain starts to go. I'm starting to get a little loopy. So Fry's account of the Trojan War and all of its characters is really an excellent character study. I think especially for those who are very fascinated in these iconic historical ancient heroes and their personalities, their faults, their virtues, and all of that. There are so many names in here, including the Greek gods and how they're involved. It's impossible to cover it all in a review, and I will not bore you to tears to do that. So one thing that I appreciate that Fry does is he does this in all of his retellings. We've got mythos and heroes back here. He brings to life their duality and their humanity by presenting them in all of their contradictions, all of their good traits, all of their bad traits, and how nuanced they really are. There are so many prominent figures here. Like I said, Hector, that's the one I forgot. Hector, Agamemnon, Achilles, my boy Odysseus, all of them. Like, I'm only going to cover my three personal favorites, because I'm biased. Okay, I'm going to be biased towards my three favorites. But, again, because going through all of it is just going to take too long. Let's talk about my boy Odysseus, because he's my favorite ancient Greek hero. Okay? My guy. He's a jerk, but he's funny. He's a nut. And Fry does him justice. You know who doesn't do my boy Odysseus justice? Circe, Madeline Miller. Also, side note, I have ranted on Circe so many times, I think I might unhaul it. That Circe is also not mythologically accurate. So Circe wasn't no pushover. Anyway, okay. Fry really captures Odysseus's intelligence, and he writes some very funny dialogue for Odysseus. There's also a lot of interesting dialogue from the other characters about Odysseus and how they perceived him. And he shows just how intelligent he is, but just also how sneaky he is. And to me, Fry's portrayal of Odysseus very much complements Homer and how Homer portrays Odysseus. Odysseus in the Odyssey is quite an emotional being. He cries a lot. But he's also, again, he's cunning, he's smart. And so this is how Fry describes him. This prince was reckoned by all who knew him to be the wiliest, cunningest, and most guileful young man in all the Greek world. The enemy stayed away, distrusting and fearing his wit and wiles. Friends leaned on him for counsel and stratagems. He was infuriatingly crooked and duplicitous if you disliked and trusted him, deliciously crafty and clever if you needed him. Who doesn't want to be called deliciously crafty? I mean, I don't know. It's appealing to me. Let's move on because I could go on about Odysseus all day, and I won't. I'll save that for when he dedicates a whole book to my guy. We're going to talk about Agamemnon, because what a name. Agamemnon. That name says I'm a warrior and I know what I'm about. Agamemnon. It's just fun to say. So but Agamemnon, he was an excellent at military tactics. He was an amazing soldier, but he was emotionally dumb. Like, he was emotionally dense and stunted. And so Fry says Agamemnon was the most brilliant military commander alive. Yet, how could such an able general be so foolish when it comes to questions of personality, emotion, and feeling? Bless his heart. He was all brain. He was all brawn and no brains, but that's okay. He was good at what he was good at. And he has a name like Agamemnon. Agamemnon's story ends up so sad. Like, his wife done cheated on him. And so he was killing. He killed his daughter. My boy won't write, but his wife did him dirty too. We'll get in. His wife didn't do him right. Everybody did everybody wrong. Okay. Lastly, we're going to talk about the one, the only, the infamous Achilles. Another name that just reeks of testosterone. Agamemnon and Achilles, like, those names reek of testosterone. Okay. And so I'm in rare form today. And he is my second favorite after Odysseus. And Fry spends the most time on Achilles, and I think rightly so, because Achilles is just the cultural importance in the Western world of Achilles cannot be denied, even if you like these characters or not. Achilles is extremely flawed, but it's his flaws balanced with his positive attributes is what makes him so important and makes him the prototype for the tragic hero, I would argue, as we know it today. Wild, petulant, headstrong, stubborn, sentimental, and cruel he could be. The vulnerability, the flaw that every human has recalled the first Achilles' heel. Every great champion ever since, in war and in sport, has been a miniature of Achilles. A tiny speck of a reminder of what real glory can be. We, each of us, know or have known someone with a glimmer of Achilles' flame in them. We have loved and loathed them. We have admired them, sometimes shyly worshipped them, often needed them. What I find so great about the way that Fry wrote that, what a beautifully constructed little segment, but also what I love about Fry's retellings is that he does not demonize these characters from a 21st century perspective, but he's also not clinical about them as well. I'm currently in the process of going through Edith Hamilton's mythologies. It's right over on my book stand, or my book in my bedside table. And Edith Hamilton is a little bit more clinical. She's very thorough. I mean, she is considered one of the go-tos for mythology. But Fry, he knows how to look at these characters from a human perspective. He calls out their nonsense, but also calls out what makes them so great and makes them so iconic. It doesn't demonize them. This is one issue I do have with some 21st century retellings, especially from the female perspective of these Greek myths, especially when they're especially when they're addressing the female perspective and these iconic characters come into play. Their authors, it's very tempting, and some of them do this, and sometimes it can fail. They're looking at them from a 21st century perspective, which makes no sense to me. You cannot project a 21st century worldview to make these characters make sense. The Greeks have a completely different way, the ancient Greeks rather, had a completely different way of understanding these characters, and you have to have a proper understanding of the context in which these characters were happening to do them justice. Because even the Greeks didn't always, and ancient Greeks didn't always agree with what they did, but they acknowledged their flaws as a whole being. And I think that's important to do instead of just bashing on them because they're men, they're male. Some of these women are shady too. Can we talk about Hera? Okay? Hera won't write. Zeus wasn't always right either, but Hera won't write either. Okay, can we just agree that men and women are both shady? Because humans are shady? Okay. Alongside these iconic ancient heroes, and he's going through all of them, and we get the background of Paris and Helen and Menelaus and all of these other, Hector and all of these other characters. We also get how the gods played into the Trojan War. The gods took sides and would often influence certain characters to manipulate outcomes. He was enthused, a word whose literal meaning is to be filled with the spirit of a god. The Olympians enjoyed the mauling and brawling of their playthings, their little human pets. Rather than wagering with gold, the immortals staked honor, status, and pride on the outcome. Also, like those sporting aristocrats, the gods are not above nobbling the runners and riders they disfavor and unfairly assisting those they support. This concept, I've talked about this in Mythos, we've talked about it in Heroes, is a common thread in the Greek myths and their retellings. How the whims of the gods result in a lack of autonomy to the humans involved. And as much as it's tempting to blame the human actors in these stories, in these characters, in these myths, the gods in a lot of ways are pulling the strings. You know, we can bash Odysseus all we want for being a jerk at times. We can bash Achilles, we can bash Memnon, but there are these ancient gods pulling the strings. So how much free will do they really have? Especially if it's almost like they're being brainwashed in some sense. It's like this fog comes over their brain. They're being enthused and they are puppets, literally. So this was actually my favorite of the three. Then I would probably say Mythos, and then I would probably say Heroes. They're all phenomenal, but I would say that Troy was my favorite of the retellings so far. I have a suspicion that when we get the fourth installment with Odysseus' story, that will probably trump this one, because Odysseus was the Odyssey was my first introduction into Greek myth from the time I was a very little girl. I mean, in the single digits. And so Odysseus is the story. Odysseus and Medusa's story. Those were my two introductions into Greek mythology. So those just kind of reign supreme for me. But Froy just does an excellent Froy. That's what happens when you mix Troy and Fry. You get Froy. Fry just does an excellent job, bringing these myths to life while making them easy to understand. They're authentic and they're entertaining. I always appreciate how Fry explains in these myths and in his accounts the mindset of the ancient Greeks and the places in them, and places them in their proper context, and acknowledges that these stories have variations even in the primary ancient sources. And he touches on those variations and why he may choose one variation over the other. Edith Hamilton does the same thing. Why she prefers to go with one retelling over another, or sorry, not one retelling, one source over another. So why she may favor Ovid, who was Roman, over maybe a Greek source or whatever. So I always will say, I think to really understand the Greek myths, if you like Greek myth retellings, I do think it's almost imperative to read more nonfiction sources of them, read the original sources, but also I would highly recommend Edith Hamilton and Stephen Fry because they are just a lot more, they're going to give you a lot more scholastic background. And so that I think will help you to be a little bit more critical when you're reading Madeline Miller, Jennifer Saint, etc. Because I fully believe that an author can have all the artistic freedom that they want. That is what nonfiction, sorry, that's what fiction is, but I don't always have to agree with it. I have read the Iliad twice. I read it in university both times. And so it's been over 10 years since I've read it. I will be rereading the Iliad in 2023 because the next set of Greek myth retellings that I want to get into are from the Trojan War or are the outcomes of the Trojan War. And so I need to refresh my memory. So I want to read the Iliad first. I would say that Troy is a really, really great way, Stephen Fry's account, to refresh your memory. If you're like me, you just need to get some clicks in place. Things need to, I need to refresh my memory before I dive back into the Iliad. Edith Hamilton's mythology is a great source as well. I think the pairing Edith Hamilton and Stephen Fry together is chef's kiss. But if you want to read Homer's Iliad, but maybe you're feeling a little intimidated by it, this is a really great place to start. Get the lay of the land and then hop into the Iliad. And because I can understand how the Iliad, even more so than the Odyssey, may be a little bit more intimidating. So I rated this one a 4.25 out of 5. Again, I really enjoyed it. Stephen Fry has the gift to tell a story. The man is very, very intelligent. I will plan on doing a very mini review on Edith Hamilton's mythology. What I think I'm going to do is I have 3 to 4 books, it might be more than that by the time I get around to recording the video, of books that don't require one video. I can probably recap it in 5 minutes. And mythology, I'm going to throw in that one because I think mythology by Edith Hamilton is also, if you like Greek myth, she also goes into the Aeneid and she also goes into Norse mythology. So if you like Greek myth and you want to start getting your little toes wet, Edith Hamilton. And Fry does, I think at least once or twice, give shout outs to Edith Hamilton. So that is all. Have you read Troy? Are you like me and kind of passionate about Greek myths and the retellings? I think I'm a little bit more critical on Madeline Miller than most readers. People tend to love Circe and Song of Achilles, but there's something about it that I'm just like, what are you doing? I'm not the only one who said it. There was a comment, sidebar. There was a comment from a Greek person. Of course, this is just one person, but she was Greek. And she was critiquing Madeline Miller on a post. She was like, who are these characters? She's doing what she wants to do from an American perspective. And these characters aren't authentic. And I agree with her. I totally agree with her. I agree with that comment. And then I saw other people chiming in like, I've always thought the same thing, but people think that it's so great. I don't get it. That's my East Coast dialect coming out. I don't know. I'm going to wrap this up. Please feel free to leave me a comment, like, and subscribe if you like my content. If you also like my content here, please feel free to follow me on Instagram. I get up to more bookish shenanigans. All of my book content actually goes live on Instagram first, and then it trickles its way over to YouTube. I also like to post funny memes every now and then. I'm a bunhead, so I post a lot of ballet stuff as well in my stories, watching professionals just be good at what they do. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Merry Christmas once again. And my next video on New Year's Eve will be appropriately. I think it would be nice to wrap up the year with my favorite book of all time, Jane Eyre. So I will see you later. Bye.